Hi guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be doing some macro photography out in this small nature reserve. I've been here quite a few times, but mainly in the summer because it's great for photographing bugs. But I thought I'd come here today. It's still winter now, technically. It's about to go into spring in the UK. But I thought I'd come here because I'm just sick of going to the same location. I'm pretty much just been going to the same woodlands every time I do macro photography. So I thought I'd change it up and see what this location offers really. I've just found a mushroom growing out the side of this log, and I've been struggling to find mushrooms lately. I think it's just because it's not prime mushroom season, so it's a lot harder to find them. But yeah, glad to find this mushroom, and it does look quite damaged, but I think that makes it look quite interesting, so let's get a shot of it. There's lots of brambles in the way here, so I'm just going to use my mini tripod to get some of these brambles out of the way of my shot. I don't usually like to alter the environment of my shots, but these brambles are really ruining the subject. That's looking a lot cleaner now. I can actually see the mushroom properly, so I can set up my composition now. I think I'll shoot landscape and try and have the mushroom on the right of the frame. The sun keeps going in and out of the clouds, so that does affect the image a little bit. However, the mushroom is shaded by this log that it's attached to, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. I'm just going to have a simple one light setup using this cube light. I'm going to place it to the right of the mushroom and have it sort of behind it to give it a nice rim light. To compensate for the cube light, I've underexposed my shot by 2 stops. So my settings are 1/250 shutter speed, f4 and ISO 200. And then all I gotta do is focus well before anything's in focus, and then press the shutter button to start my focus bracket. And then once I've got enough shots, I'll press the shutter button again to end my focus bracket, which is about now. The focus bracket didn't take long at all there because I didn't shoot very magnified, as I wanted to include more of the scenery around the mushroom. Right now I can't see any mushrooms around on the floor here, but back in October, November there was just loads. You didn't even have to search around. And this is a very small section. Like, this is my favourite part, this valley bit. And all it is just like a few steps. So if I don't find anything here, it's going to be very hard to find subjects today. I might have to resort to just flipping over logs and photographing bugs, so we'll see what we can find. I just found some scarlet alpha cup fungus, and it's quite hard to miss because of how bright it is. And there's some dead grass sort of covering it, which I can probably remove to reveal the subject a bit better. And there's also some smaller ones over there, which I might photograph afterwards. So yeah, let's set up a shot. I'm just going to clean up the area, make sure there's no twigs or grass covering the subject so I can get a clear shot of it. There's a few leaves and stuff around, which I'm also going to remove. I like to clean up as much in real life, because then it means I spend less time doing Photoshop stuff. That's looking good now. I've got a good view of the subject, so we'll start setting up our composition. This will be a perfect shot for the OM System 30mm, but I no longer have that lens because I had it on loan. But I do plan on buying it very soon. But I still can get a decent shot with the 90mm I've got here. I'm going to try and get a composition where I have all 4 of the alpha cup funguses in shot, so I've got to get quite far back here. I quite like the natural light on the subject, so I'm going to use this pop-up diffuser and sort of use it to bounce some light into those shadow areas of the subject. It's not doing a crazy job, but it's better than nothing. And then I've got to press the shutter button to start my focus bracket, and then press it again about now to end my focus bracket. I'm now going to photograph a singular one up close, and I think I'm going to photograph this one here just because I can get a nice composition. And I'm going to shade it and then use some artificial lights. So I can literally just stand here to shade it like this, and then I'm going to use a pod mini probably, or maybe a couple pod minis to light the subject. And also the floor is really muddy here, so try not to get muddy. My camera's got a bit muddy and my tripod's covered in mud. I'm kind of covered in mud, so yeah, not great. My pod minis were actually dead when I got here today because I forgot to charge them. But luckily I've got a portable charger in my bag, and I just hooked all 3 of them up to the portable charger, and they've been charging since I've got here, so they've now got enough juice to actually use them. So I'd highly recommend bringing a portable charger if you're out taking photos, because you know, you could be like me and forget to charge your camera equipment. I'm going to place one of my pod minis at the back left here to give a rim light to the alpha cup fungus, and then I might bring in another light to light the front of it, either a pod mini or a cube light. I've just placed my backpack here to shade my subject because I'd have to stand there to shade my subject, but it's a lot easier to stand here because I can control my lights and my camera a lot easier. When I'm setting up a shot with artificial lights, I like to underexpose my shot by about 1.5 to 2 stops. That means I can actually see the effects of my light on my subject. I'm going to use a second light for this shot, this cube light here, and I'm just going to place it around here and then position it where it looks good. And I'm just using this to add some more light to the shot and fill in some of those shadows. About there looks good, so I'm going to focus before anything's in focus and then press my shutter button to start my focus bracket. And it shouldn't take too long. About now I think we've got enough shots, so hit the shutter button again and there's our shot. I'm quite happy with that shot. I think the lighting turned out quite well in the end. There's a couple of small elf cut funguses here, so I think I'm going to get a close-up shot on one of these because it looks quite interesting how the moss is sort of wrapping around the elf cut fungus. I really like how this elf cut fungus has a sort of shell mushroom sort of shape. It's got like a stem at the bottom and then a sort of semicircle at the top. Looks a bit more interesting. I have removed a couple bits of moss from the foreground just because it looks a bit messy. I just wanted to clean it up a tiny bit, but keep most of the scene natural with how the moss was originally. For lighting, I've got quite a simple setup. I'm using 2 pod minis and they're both pointing to the side and they're slightly pointing behind the subject as well, just to give it a nice rim light. I was going to add some fill light to the front of the subject, but looking at the back of the camera, it looks alright. So I think I'm just going to focus well before anything's in focus and then press my shutter button to start the focus bracket. And it shouldn't take too long because I'm not super magnified. I think about there is looking good, so hit the shutter again. And there's our shot. Right next to my last shot, I just found this cluster of bracket fungus growing on this branch. And it's quite high up, so I might have to use my video tripod, which is that one over there. I've already got my camera on ready, because that one can go a lot higher than my small one, which is over there. I think composition is quite important for this shot, because the scene around it is really messy. So I need to come up with a composition that simplifies this shot and shows the subject really well. And there's not much light either. The sun's gone behind the cloud. So I don't have much separation between the background and the foreground. So I've got to really be smart with my composition here. I'm going to place my subject on the very left of the frame because on the right I've got this log here and it's very simple and plain, which means the composition looks a lot cleaner. Whereas on the left of the subject, we've got loads of twigs and branches and stuff. It looks really messy. So I don't want to include that in my shot. There's also a nice leading line on the right of the frame. So we've got this branch coming down and then it goes up towards the subject, which looks really nice. Everything is looking good now, so I'm going to focus well before anything's in focus and then press my shutter button to start the focus bracket. And it shouldn't take too long because I'm really not magnified at all here. And that is looking like enough shots, so hit the shutter button again. And yeah, I'm really happy with that shot. When I first saw the subject, I thought it was going to be really hard to isolate, but as I set up the shot, I just saw a really nice composition and it kind of worked out. I just found a small single piece of bracket fungus on the end of a stick. And I'm going to place it down by some moss because I want to get nice green colours in the background. So I found this tree here which has loads of moss on it. So I'm just going to place it down here somewhere and then hopefully get some nice green in the background. I was going to shoot this shot with artificial light, but the sun just came out now and it's lighting the subject exactly how I want it. I'm just going to use this cube light just to fill in some shadows. So we're going to just hold it in our hand to save time, I think. Hold it about there. That looks good. And then we'll focus well before anything's in focus. And then press the shutter button to start our focus bracket. And it shouldn't take too long because we're not very magnified. So I think that's enough shots. Hit the shutter button again. And there's our shot. I think I like to use natural light when I can, but I live in the UK and the sun barely comes out. It's the sun's only just started coming out quite a bit recently. The past month or so I've barely seen the sun. It just doesn't come out. I just found what I think is a small bunch of orange slime molds growing out of this log here. And I literally took 2 steps from my last subject and found these, so didn't have to move very far to find my next subject. I'm going to get a couple shots of this subject, and for my first shot, I want to shoot slightly less magnified and include the whole group of slime molds in the shot. Slime molds are quite reflective and shiny, which means you have a reflection of all of this in these slime molds, which looks really messy. So to make it look nicer, I'm going to use this diffuser and this cube light, and that will just mean the reflections look really nice and smooth on the slime molds. I'm going to rest my diffuser there, and then I'm going to use my cube light here to add some light, and then all I got to do is focus before anything's in focus, and then press the shutter button to start my focus bracket. That looks like enough shots. Hit the shutter button again. I'm just going to shoot one without a diffuser so I can show you before and after of using the diffuser and then using just natural light. So as you can see, the shot without the diffuser, you have a lot of mess in the reflections. And then when I have the diffuser, it becomes a lot cleaner and the reflections are just a lot nicer to look at. I'm now going to photograph a singular slime mold, and I've just found a really photogenic one on the end of this log. And the log around the subject acts as a natural frame, which looks really nice. And lighting, I've just put the diffuser on the left with the light, and that just creates some nice reflections on the slime mold. So yeah, let's get this shot. Alright, I think I've got everything set up, so I'm going to focus well before anything's in focus, and then press the shutter button to start my focus bracket. And the reason I focus well before anything's in focus is so when it comes to focus stacking later on my computer, I have the options to either focus stack the whole scene, which I sometimes do, or I can focus stack a select part of the scene. So for this shot, I'm most likely going to have some foreground elements out of focus, and then I'm going to have some background elements out of focus. And the main thing I'm going to be focus stacking is the slime mold and the bits of wood around it that it's connected to. And if you're wondering what I focus stack on, I use Zarine Stacker. Alright, I think that is enough shots, so we'll hit the shutter button again to end our focus bracket. And there's our shot. I'm really happy with that shot. I did not expect to find any orange slime molds today. I've just found a ladybird nestled in the moss on this tree here, and I've got to be quick getting this shot because the ladybird could fly off or start moving. And I'm going to use a flash and diffuser for this shot because that works very well for photographing moving things, because it helps freeze the motion. So let's get it shot. It's staying dead still right now, but when I start photographing it, it could start moving. So I'm just going to get a single shot to make sure I actually have a shot in case it does fly away. And then once I've got a single shot, I'll move on to getting a focus bracket. For my single shot, I'm going to shoot at f11, and that just means I have a nice depth of field for a single shot. And when it comes to bracketing, I'll use a different aperture. Now I've got a single shot, I'm going to activate bracketing, and I do this by hitting one of my preset buttons on the front of my camera here. And then I'm going to change my settings, so aperture, I'm going to change to f5.6, and then because I'm a lot brighter, I'm going to have to change my flash power. So I shot my last one on 1/32, I'm now going to change to 1/128 and see what that's like. If it's too bright or too dark, I'll just change my flash exposure accordingly. It's quite easy to get stable here because I'm resting against a tree, so this focus bracket should go well, hopefully. I'm going to focus just before the eyes of the ladybird and then press the shutter button to start my focus bracket. That's enough shots. Hit the shutter button again. And there's our shot. It's quite nice to see a ladybird about. It's a sign that spring is just around the corner, and I'll be back to photographing bugs in no time. Now I've got the flash and diffuser on my camera, I thought I'd just keep it on and photograph some more bugs. So I'm going to roll over this log here and hopefully I'll find some bugs. Oh yeah. Quite a few things already. There's loads of red ants here, so I'll get a quick photo of that. The ants are moving around, so I'm just going to do single shots at f11, and I'm going to change my flash to 1/32. That should be good. It's quite weird seeing ants move around really slow because it's obviously still quite cold out. Usually I just see ants running around like crazy. The sun is shining on them, which is a bit annoying because the sun is a lot brighter than my flash, which means I get a blurry shot. So I need to actually shade the ants. Or I could just wait a moment and the sun might go behind the clouds. I think that's enough shots of the ants. They're not really a subject I like photographing, so I didn't get too many shots there. I think I'll move on to this disco fungus. I would usually photograph this sort of subject without a flash and diffuser, but it will still work with a flash and diffuser. I just don't want to have to pack this away and get my other stuff back out my bag, because I probably might go after this shot. Some very small ones nestled down here, so I think I'll get a shot of these. I think that'll do for the disco fungus shot. I don't want to spend too much time photographing stuff here because I've kind of split the log in half and disturbed the ant's nest. So I'm going to put these two pieces of log together and then roll the whole log over. And I can see the ant's nest down there. So I'm guessing some of the ants were on the log when I rolled it over. So yeah, we're going to stick these bits of log together like so, and then carefully roll it back over. That should be good. The ants can go back to making their ant's nest or whatever ants do. When I first arrived at this nature reserve today, I didn't think I'd get that many photos because it's quite a small nature reserve and it's still winter, so there's not many subjects about. But I was quite surprised. I got quite a lot of photos today and some really good ones too. So yeah, very happy with the shots I got today. I'm going to end today's video here. So if you want to know what gear I shoot on, all of that will be linked below down in the description. And those are affiliate links, so if you buy through them, I'll get a small commission and no extra cost for you, which will help support the channel. So yeah, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.